Hi, folks. How you doing? Good to be back with you. I thought I would talk about the human will, which is different than desire. Okay, desire is emotion, passion. The will is simply a harmony that has no passion. You see, as a matter of fact, passion can be an obstacle to the will. So for the will to, let's say, work perfectly, there must be balance. You know what I mean? Reconciliation of all passions and emotions. Then the will work best. But we associate the will with Heru, the god Heru. Heru was a sun god, you see. And his name means light, daylight, etc. So we see that the human will needs sunlight to function at its best. When the human doesn't get, let's say, his share of sunlight, he's at a deficit when it comes to his will. So the will thrives on sunlight, and it also thrives on the imagination. And the will is also associated well with the word spirit. For example, when a person's engaged in doing something, and all of a sudden he's really not conscious of what he's doing, but he continues doing it perfectly, people say, oh, the spirit took over. Yeah. Okay, the spirit took over. Here we're talking about the will. So the will has taken over in this instance. The will can take over when a person's driving the car down the highway and the person don't have any problem whatsoever. He's not asleep. The will has simply taken over, and when he comes out of this, he can't recall what happened when he was driving, or what he was thinking about, or anything. We say the spirit took over. Here we say the will took over. Or we say that Heru, okay, took over, okay? And so this happens to people, whether he's driving or maybe doing something else. We've had these experiences, you see. And so in the ancient traditions, they would say, well, it was Heru. This is Heru, okay? The will, or the spirit, has taken over on these occasions. So then we see that the sun, is a blessing to the human in many different ways, and is a blessing to the human relative to his will. And when I use the term will, I'm not talking about willpower. Willpower involves passion, and willpower is a uphill battle. But no, like I mentioned earlier, the will, okay, is passion free. You see, in fact, the human, in order for the will to work best, must have complete control of his passions. He must be well balanced where his passions don't interfere. He has reconciled all opposition within him. and then the will works very well. See? So when a person's driving down the highway or involved in some other task, when his will takes over, that he is passion free at that time. In other words, his passions have been reconciled within him. Whether he did it intentionally, which he probably doesn't under these circumstances, but it happens. He's in a state where this happens, you see. And the state could be provided through cosmos, the operations of celestial bodies. You can put a person in a particular state of mind, a state of being, where the will can take over. So we see that when we get into like stellar bodies, stars, and we take, for example, the star Sirius. We can call it sothis Sirius, because sothis is an ancient name of the star Sirius. Okay. Well, this star, it is said in the mythology, stellar mythology, that Sirius gives birth to the sun god. Okay. And in ancient times, and let's say about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, the birth of the solar sun god, the sun god, was in, let's say, in the sign of Leo. Here's, we have the first day of the year, the birth of the sun god, the birth of the solar child, occurring in Leo, the astrological sign Leo. And it has been said about it would be around maybe July 19th, around that area. Somewhere around there. But anyway, it was the first day of the year. And it occurred when the star Sirius, okay, was seen on the horizon on the morning of that day. At this point in time, the sun god, or the sun in the sky, okay, was seen on the horizon, okay, with the constellation Leo. So we have what they call the heliacal rising of Sirius, when Sirius rises first thing in the morning, the star. Then we have the sun, okay, which coincides there on the horizon with the constellation Leo, which itself has risen to, let's say, the horizon. We can see Leo, or they could see Leo on the horizon first thing in the morning as the sun rose, and the star Sirius is supposed to be the mother of the solar god, the sun god, okay, rose also. And you could they could see Sirius on the horizon, okay. So the sun god is the will, Heru, you see. And so this is the beginning of the year and the birth of the sun god, the child sun god, you see. And it so happened that the star Sirius was consecrated to the zodiacal constellation of Scorpio. But when Scorpio comes around, this is a time of year, in the fall of the year, when the child sun god enters the underworld. That is the will of the human. Remember? Heru, the child, the will of the human, enters the underworld in the fall of the year. Well, now, we know that in the fall of the year, the days are shorter than the nights. The nights are longer than the days. Hence, there's less sunlight, even though it's a few hours difference. In the fall of the year and in the summer, in terms of the sunlight that we receive on this planet. But the sun god, the child Heru, okay, doesn't receive all the sunlight, so he has to struggle because he's weaker. So he struggles what they call going through the underworld, or we'd say the fall of the year, the autumn part of the year. There's a little struggle for the sun god simply because of these difference in a few hours, you see. But to the ancients, this difference evidently made out to be a great deal to them, you see. And they put it in their mythology. So it had to mean a great deal to them, you see. The mythology, by the way, represents what the ancients were doing thousands and thousands of years ago. The mythology is representative of what they were doing back in those days. And they were very conscious of the will. Okay, folks, it was good talking to you. And we'll get back with this in the star Sirius, you see. Because it's more to talk about when it comes to Sirius. But she's the mother of the solar god. Or at least she was then, about 4,000 years ago. So we'll get back and we'll talk about more about Sirius and other things. And subscribe. And maybe you could follow me, you see. And because I have a lot to talk about, and I'm sure you'll be interested. Because all these things have bearing on the human being, his well-being. The human being's well-being, okay, is wrapped up in stellar activity, or we say cosmic activity, okay. All right, thank you very much, and have a good one.